Oh, and welcome to today's video. Today we're doing a color tier list, so without further ado, let's get right into it. We're going to be going in rainbow order, which means we're going to be starting with red. I think red is a pretty nice color to look at, one of my favorite, so I'm going to put it in A tier. Next up is the color orange, which is still pretty to look at, but it's relatively new. It didn't used to be considered a color. It's named after the fruit, in case you were wondering. When you're mixing colors subtractively, it's a secondary color, but when you're mixing colors additively, as in starting with red, green, and blue, based on the colors that your eyes perceive, orange is a tertiary color, so I'm going to put it in D tier, which is fitting because D tier is orange. Next up is yellow. It's one of the most pleasant colors to look at. It's bright. It's the color of the sun, which provides warmth. And generally, when you think of happiness, the first color you think of is yellow. So I feel like it's perfectly fitting to put yellow all the way up in S tier. It's just one of the best colors. Next up is green, and I've decided to go for dark green as the main color that is called green. I have another color later on that one might also call green, but we're going to go with dark green for the main green because I think this is the color that most people think of when they think of green. And without further ado, I'm going to put in C tier. Partially because there's the controversy of, is this the real main green color, or is a color that's later on in this list the real main green color? And also the fact that I just think that darker colors are generally worse to look at. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Next up is blue, which I'm going to put in C tier. That's not C tier, that's B tier. B for blue. It's both one of the primary additive colors and one of the primary subtractive colors if you're using red, yellow, blue instead of cyan, magenta, yellow. But also it's one of the most general colors, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. But basically everyone has at least one shade of blue they like, although the specific shade of blue I happen to have chosen is probably the ugliest one out of them all. So sorry about that. There's 3 colors on this list that everyone, I think, would agree is a shade of blue, and 2 other colors on this list that almost everyone, excluding me, would also consider to be a shade of blue. So you can definitely see why there's a shade of blue for everyone. It's just this specific shade of blue doesn't really cut it for me. Speaking of shades of blue, indigo, which is really a shade of blue, but I'm putting it here. And when I looked at what indigo looked like, it also just looked like it was navy blue. So I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but this is what indigo apparently looks like. And we have a nice thing where there's exactly one color in each tier. That was not on purpose, but indigo is objectively F tier. Like, what is it? It is not a, like, I'm sorry. If you told me to name 20 colors, I think indigo would only be on there if I literally couldn't think of any other colors, and I probably still wouldn't say indigo. Like the color orange, it was only created because 400 years ago, Isaac Newton thought that there should be 7 colors to match the 7 colors, or to match the 7 days of the week and the 7 planets that are in the sky, which are not. There are 8 planets, and also 2 of the planets they thought there were are actually not planets. And they're anyway. And so, really, indigo has no reason to exist. What color does have a reason to exist is violet slash purple. I think most people would agree they're the same color, just different words for it, like how little and small mean the same thing. So, as for where I put it, purple, I think it goes in C tier. It's not a very pleasant color to look at. When I looked up purple, this isn't the first color that came up, which is just going to knock it down a bit for me. I had to actively look for the shade of purple that I think of as being the main shade of purple. Now, obviously, there's a main shade of purple for everyone. I think darker purples actually look nicer, which is contrary to green. So I'm actually going to put purple above green because I think there are more shades of purple, and because for the green one, I'm kind of more specifically considering this color of green than I am for when I'm doing the purple one. Okay, so that is the rainbow. So I'm going to just do a bunch more colors that I thought of in the order I thought of them. So first up, obviously, we have the grayscale colors, white, black, and gray. So white is going to be an A tier color. I just think there's something very clean and pristine about it. I think it's probably better than red. But like when you walk into like a marble room, or when something's made out of marble, it's white. White is also the symbol of peace. Like you have a dove is white. So overall, I think white is a very nice color. I'm actually gonna put black right next to white, a little bit below white, because I actually think it's also clean. Like when you're going to sleep, you want everything to be black. Just like how white is the pure essence of light, black is the pure essence of darkness, which is not always a bad thing. Like if you want to sleep or if you want to just feel cozy, darkness or the color black is really nice. Black is also a very good neutral color. It's also what you wear when you're going to a funeral, which is one of the reasons I'm going to consider it to be worse than white and red. White, black, and red also happen to be the first three colors that most languages develop, so I think it's fitting that they're all right next to each other. Next up is gray, which I'm going to put in D tier. It's not an F tier because it definitely deserves to exist as a color, but it's really ugly to look at. Okay, so remember that green I was talking about from earlier? I'm talking about lime green, which I'm going to put in B tier above blue because I think it looks better. And it has the same argument as blue for being up there, which is that it's a primary color when you're speaking additively, which is when you have like lights on the screen as opposed to mixing paints. And green is a primary color in that case, or specifically this shade of green, which is, and so I think it is also nicer to look at than this green, so I'm going to put it up here. Next up is magenta, which is the final secondary color that we're looking at. And I'm going to put it in S tier because I just think it's really cool how magenta works. So obviously you can't actually have a magenta wavelength of light. There's no wavelength of light that's magenta. So the way magenta works is basically when you see red and blue at the same time, your brain doesn't realize that that is two separate waves of light. It thinks it's still like one wave of light coming into your eyes, and so it combines them into a new color, and we see that as magenta. I don't think it's as nice to look at as yellow, but I think it's cooler than yellow in the way it exists. So I'm gonna put it above yellow. So it's actually at the top of the tier list. Not for long because I think cyan also goes at the top of the tier list. So turns out I just really like primary subtractive colors. I didn't plan for it to be that way, but I just think all of these colors are really nice to look at. Cyan is one of my favorite colors. Although I actually think magenta is going to go above it because of the factor that makes magenta cool. But I also think cyan is really fun to say, which literally none of the other colors on this list, out of all of them, have. That's something only cyan has, where I think it's actually fun to say, and I like the word cyan. And I'm really grading these as words. Like for example, indigo as a color, there's nothing wrong with it, but like it shouldn't exist as a color. It shouldn't be on this tier list. It's kind of like, and so I think the word cyan is fun to say, so it goes up above yellow. In terms of it versus yellow, I think they're equally good to look at. Cyan being the color of the sky, or an idealized color of the sky. So, yeah, that's nice. Okay, the next colors I thought of were the last three colors that I would consider to be main colors of the 13 main colors that English speakers talk about. So the first one is pink, and I'm going to put pink in D tier above gray because it looks better than gray, but it doesn't have as much of a reason to be a color as gray because it is just light red. But then again, like almost all of these colors are actually just shades of other colors. So if I'm just basing stuff off of that, it's kind of annoying. Everything besides black and white would be an F tier. But I'm not doing that, so I can't judge pink too harshly for that. But because it's really well known that pink is just a shade of red, I think it belongs in D tier. Next up is brown, which is F tier. Brown is the color of like everything unpleasant and also dirt itself. Next up is maroon, which is going to go right between brown and indigo. I hate it just as much as I hate brown. It's ugly. There's also nothing that I associate with it, and it doesn't have a reason to exist. The only reason it's above indigo is because I've heard more people use the word maroon than indigo, so I think it's a more commonly accepted color than indigo, but otherwise it's basically equal. Next up is peach, which is a color, apparently. And I'm going to put it in D tier because it doesn't really have a reason to exist, especially with its buddy that I'm going to talk about next. It goes below orange for sure. It's also not very pleasant to look at. Next up is tan, which I'm going to put slightly above it in C tier. Still not pleasant to look at, but I feel like of peach and tan is like the main one, and peach is just also there. Like, if I were to list colors until I couldn't list them anymore, I would come up with tan before I came up with peach. So that's the actual logic I'm using. It also looks better than green and purple, so I'm going to put it at the top of C tier. When I said cyan for this color, a lot of you probably were screaming at your screens, and type in the comments below if you disagree, that this is actually teal, but I'm going to repeat, this is not teal, this is cyan. This is teal. I'm going to put it below green and blue because it's not an additive primary color, but it is very nice to look at. it is a darker version of cyan, which I think is the nicest color to look at and would be above magenta if it had as cool of a story as magenta. So obviously I'm still going to rank it pretty high, but it's not the best color. Right above pink in D tier is going to be hot pink, which is exactly the same thing but just looks better. I don't think I need to talk about it anymore. And then in F tier we're going to have lavender, which I'm going to put right above indigo because it's more commonly used. This is literally the color that came up when I looked up lavender. Is that really what you think of when you think of lavender? But even the actual color lavender is just a shade of purple, so it has the same problem as pink, except it's less commonly used by a wide margin and is actually considered to be a shade of purple, whereas pink is often not considered to be a shade of red, and also looks worse, so I'm going to keep it in F tier. Next up are two more blues that I added, just so I could have the full range of the shade of blue. And both of these blues are actually going to be above the main blue that I added. Starting with cornflower blue, which I think is still in B tier, but at the top of B tier. I just think it is better looking than blue. Of course, it is a shade of blue, so it has less reason to exist, but it is significantly better looking. And then better looking than that still, in A tier, we have sky blue, which you could also consider to be a light blue. I did say cyan is the color of the sky, but it's really the idealized color of the sky, which I might have said. This is the color the sky actually is. But it's still pretty beautiful to look at. Okay, the final standard color we have is ash gray, which is going to be slightly below gray because I think that it being darker makes it look slightly worse. And that's really the only thing that I have to go on. So now I have 4 bonus colors for you because we have bonuses at the end of every tier list. First up is rainbow. I'm going to put rainbow in C tier above tan. The reason I'm putting rainbow in C tier is because I think it's just a cop-out. Like, if you say your favorite color is rainbow, it's because you can't choose a favorite color. If you say you like the color rainbow, I don't think you actually think rainbow is a color. I think you just want to be a contrarian. Sure, rainbows are nice to look at, but I don't think they have a real justification for being considered a color, which is generally the reason I put all of these colors down below, where I put some of the other colors, so I can't justify putting rainbow anywhere above C tier. Next up are the classic buddies, silver and gold, which I'm going to put both of them in B tier, between teal and green and blue. I think they have more of a justification to be colors than rainbow, since they are pretty unique colors. It's just like, at this point, are we saying that a color is like a hex code, or is it like a way something can look? And the next color, the final bonus color is going to challenge that even more. But it is kind of like, do these count as colors? But if they do, they're very good looking. The final color we're going to look at, I'm going to put in S tier, and it is transparent. And I'm going to put it at the top because as much as we like to look at opaque colors, there's nothing better than actually being able to see something. If you disagree with this tier list or just want to see me make another one in the future, make sure to comment down below in which way or which tier list you would like to make. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos in the future. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.